Trump's $100,000 visa fee will cause major confusion and chaos. I would say as intended because everything that seems to go on, every announcement sends us into this so dizzy. We're just dizzy every day. There's multiple announcements. Trump signed an executive action on Friday to impose a $100,000 application fee for H-1B visas. This is an effort to curb what his administration says is overuse of the program. Sparked major confusion, chaos too, for visa holders, especially amongst recent travelers. Watch this.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the captain speaking. Due to the current circumstances, obviously, that are unprecedented for us here at Emirates, we are aware that a number of passengers do not wish to travel with us, and that's perfectly fine. All we ask is that if you wish to offload yourself.
Okay, why are you out of your seat? The plane needs to take off. Well, we'll tell you. They can't quickly stow luggage and stay in their seats, seatbelts fastened, waiting for the announcement about what to do in the event of emergency, because the emergency is now. The captain, right there, talking to people who may or may not be hit with money, some kind of charge, $100,000, money they don't have. Many were quick to disembark the Emirates flight from San Francisco, unsure if they'd be able to return to the United States without paying 100,000 G's. The White House has now offered clarification surrounding the details of the action and when the policy will go into place. You would think they would do that once the order was signed, although we had conflicting information even from members of the cabinet. We need great workers, and this pretty much ensures that that's what's going to happen, Trump said from the Oval Office, where officials detailed how the measure would incentivize companies to employ American workers while still providing a pathway to hire highly skilled foreign workers in specialized fields. Proclamation will restrict entry under the program unless accompanied by the payment. The Act states entry is restricted except for those aliens whose petitions are accompanied or supplemented by a payment of $100,000. This restriction shall expire absent extension 12 months after the effective date of this proclamation, which shall be 12:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, September 21. I think it should be, 2025. Okay, so that's what Mr. Trump wants. He says it has an intended purpose. H-1B visa is a work visa that's valid for 3 years. It can be renewed for another 3 years. Economists have argued the program allows U.S. companies to maintain competitiveness, grow their business, creating more jobs in the U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told reporters on a call Friday evening that the administration came to the fee of $100,000 per year, plus vetting costs, after talking with companies. He noted that the payment structure is still under discussion with the Department of Homeland Security in terms of whether we're going to charge the $300,000 upfront or $100,000 a year for the 3 years. Tech is the most common job sector. 65,000 H-1B visas are granted annually. Another 20,000 reserved just for people who hold advanced degrees from U.S. higher education institutions. Demand for the visa often exceeds the supply, triggering a lottery system. Citizens of India make up the largest share of H-1B visa holders. Workers from India receive more than 70% of the 85,000 issued each year. Amazon sponsors the most H-1B visas, almost twice as much as any other corporation. One man who had been traveling back to India documented his chaotic and expensive ordeal. Rohan Mehta, software professional, has lived in the US with his family for 11 years, but had traveled to Nagpur at the beginning of the month to see relatives commemorating his father's death. But on 20 September, he said he feared he would not be able to return to his home if he did not get back before the deadline. He spent over $8,000 in 8 hours booking and rebooking return flights to the US. I booked multiple options because most were cutting it very close, he said. just after he had boarded a Virgin Atlantic flight from Mumbai to JFK International Airport. Even if there was a slight delay, I'd have missed the deadline. In its clarification, the White House said the new fee, which is more than 60 times the amount currently charged, 60 times, would not be enforced until the next round of visa applications was approved. Well, Rohan Mehta is out $8,000. So thank you for the clarification. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. Too late. He'd already spent that money. Rohan Mehta described the last few days as traumatic, adding he was glad his wife and daughter had not come to India with him on this trip. I'm regretting the choices I've made in life. I gave the prime of my youth to working for this country, the United States. And now I feel like I'm not wanted. Well, some might understand how you feel that way, Mr. Mehta. Critics of the H-1B program, including many U.S. technology workers, argue that it allows firms to suppress wages, sideline Americans who could do the jobs. Supporters, including Tesla, opens new tab CEO and former Trump ally Elon Musk, say it brings in highly skilled workers essential to filling talent gaps and keeping firms competitive. Musk himself, a naturalized U.S. citizen born in South Africa, has held an H-1B visa. So, guess he has every interest in making sure that, well, that continues. Look, we can argue, I guess, yes, about how to make the program more fair, more, if you believe it needs to be more exclusive.
Mhm.
But there is, to me, no excuse for the confusion, the 60 times the usual price tag, just sheer chaos. And you're telling me, as his cabinet member proclaimed, they had these discussions. And yet, these companies who they said were the ones they had the discussions with were many of them making the calls and clarifying and frantically sending emails to try to figure out, well, what do we do here? What's the clarification? There's just no excuse for living in limbo like this.
Yeah, this administration has a tendency to just see things very black and white. Like if Trump says something is not good, he just wants to burn it all down, get rid of it. So the idea, what you were alluding to, of reforming something that maybe is not perfect, could use a little tweaking, could be updated to reflect what's going on today as opposed to when it was enacted. That is not a thing that this administration or this president is interested or able to do. We saw what happened with the Iran nuclear deal. He walked in, he said, this is a bad deal. He just got rid of it, right? He didn't fix it and make it better. He just got rid of it, largely probably because it was Obama's deal. Also, he doesn't like NATO. Then there was also public education, for example. They say public education is bad, so we'll just get rid of it. We're not going to put the necessary funds into it to help actually make it better. He said Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is terrible. I'm going to get rid of it once I'm president. What is he going to replace it with? I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out later. So that's just a thing that they do. But also, this is what you get when you put not just incompetent people, but also disingenuous people in positions of power. The chaos is a big part of the goal. They want people to be confused and to feel as though their lives are disrupted. They want people to feel uncomfortable, because they want people to feel the power of the government in all aspects of their life as they're just trying to live. And again, I just want to say, before all of this was happening, people, for the most part, were able to just live their lives without constantly having to think about the government all the time, right? Even we were able to travel without having to think directly about the government and what they were doing, but they also want to make it so that all of these changes are very hard for anybody to keep track of or to fight against. Even if people want to be compliant with something like this, who just has an extra $100,000 that they can just whip out and say, okay, now I'm compliant? They are flooding the zone, which is something that they actually said they were going to do. And all of this falls in line with their anti-immigrant rhetoric. But Something that is not in line with all of that rhetoric is the fact that the US is losing money because of all this anti immigrant
Yeah.
rhetoric and also the ICE raids and the takeover of American cities that have stemmed directly from that rhetoric. But tourists are not interested in coming here as much anymore. So, the United States, the tourism industry, the hospitality industries, they're going to lose a lot of money if they haven't already because of all of this. We're hosting the World Cup next year. People do not want to come, and our government, I think it was actually JD Vance said that people are welcome to come for the World Cup, but if you don't leave right after, then you're going to have to answer to Kristi Noem. So threatening your tourists is not a great way to encourage tourism. But as far as this particular visa goes, this is in large part why the US is able and has been able to be competitive around the world in several major industries. So Elon Musk, he famously spoke out against Donald Trump's interest in getting rid of the visa. I heard now that he's kind of like come back around, or he's trying to like be a little bit more on Trump's side with this. But either way, I mean, he was kind of right the first time, right? He was saying, we need to be able to bring these people in, and especially because the American universities are not what they used to be, and they are not giving us the best people as far as maths and sciences and engineering and things like that compared to what is going on in these international communities and colleges.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And if these kinds of issues were just looked at based on, ironically, what would make or keep America great, strong, smart,
Mhm.
whatever,
Yeah,
this is a no brainer. It wouldn't matter
actual
which
mag.
side of the aisle you're on. Then you would just be debating, well, how do we go about it? Nothing in here is helping to make America better. Duh, duh. But hey, it's the age of Trump, and America, look at your life.